Meanwhile, an army unit of the Israel Defense Forces is expected to face U.S. sanctions. It is a battalion called Netzah Yehuda. Reports say the United States will impose the sanctions on the unit over its treatment of Palestinians in the West Bank. Now, what is the story here? Who are the Netzah Yehuda? Let's get to the details. The story begins in the year 1999. That's when the Netzah Yehuda battalion was set up. The aim essentially was to accommodate the religious beliefs of ultra-Orthodox Jews and other religious nationalist recruits in the army. Basically, for them to serve in the army by letting them maintain their religious practices. For example, giving them time for prayers and study. The battalion primarily operated in the West Bank before it was moved out of there in late 2022. This was following U.S. criticism. Recently, the Netzah Yehuda unit has been serving in Gaza. And what exactly is the battalion accused of? Why is the U.S. considering imposing sanctions? There have been a string of incidents in recent years in which Netzah Yehuda soldiers were accused of or charged with abusing Palestinian detainees. In fact, the U.S. called for a criminal investigation after Netzah Yehuda soldiers were accused of being involved in the death of a 78-year-old Palestinian American. His name was Omar Assad. He died in the year 2022. A Palestinian autopsy found Assad died from a stress-induced heart attack as a result of being manhandled. According to the Israeli military, soldiers temporarily gagged Assad with a strip of cloths and cuffed his hands with a zip tie. Why? Because of his refusal to cooperate. Netzah Yehuda's battalion commander was reprimanded, 2 officers were dismissed, but Israeli military prosecutors decided against pursuing criminal charges because they said there was no link between what the soldiers did and the death of Omar Assad. Basically, the military advocate general said a military medical official found it impossible to determine that his death was caused specifically by the soldiers' conduct and that the soldiers could not have known about his medical condition. What about the sanctions now? What is the U.S. saying? According to the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, he has made determinations regarding accusations that Israel violated a set of U.S. laws that prohibit providing military assistance to individuals or security force units that commit gross violations of human rights. Let me repeat that last bit for you. Individuals or security force units that commit gross violations of human rights. So what is the timeline looking like? Blinken said an announcement could be made very soon. So how exactly is Israel looking at all of this? Simply put, with a lot of anger. Israeli leaders have reacted angrily to reports of the sanctions. The Israeli military has said that the Netzah Yehuda battalion is an active combat unit that operates according to the principles of international law. What about Benjamin Netanyahu? What is he saying? He said his government would act by all means against any move. Let me tell you more about his reaction and the words that he used to describe all of this. He called the possibility of sanctions on the unit the peak of absurdity and a moral low at a time when Israeli forces are fighting a war in Gaza against Hamas. Reports say Benny Gantz, in fact, spoke to Blinken and requested that he reconsider the prospective decision. Let me also tell you about what's happening on the ground. More Palestinians are dying with each passing day. In fact, the Palestinian death toll from the ongoing Israeli attacks on the Gaza Strip has gone up to 34,151. In fact, the Israeli army killed 54 Palestinians and injured 104 others in the past 24 hours, just in the last 24 hours. But what for? What exactly is Israel even gaining? What I can tell you is that accountability seems to be catching up with Israel now. Israel's top military intelligence official announced his resignation on Monday over his role in the failures that led to the Hamas group's October 7 attack on Israel. Major General Aharon Halayva, the chief of Israel Defense Forces Military Intelligence Directorate, will step down from the military once a replacement is appointed. But is this too little, too late? To stay up to speed with the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.